All right, we're back in a very drastically different situation. For those who may or may not have been listening, me and Alex were doing it in person for a very long time, but I just recently moved 17 hours away from Alex. We're going to be switching to the Zoom format, which is good for potential YouTube audience and potential viewers that actually want to watch the podcast. But as far as the normal drive across town, plug in the mics at the computer and be done with it, it's going to look a little different. So that obviously comes with a couple potential issues, that we're trying to work it out. But as far as the normal content of the pod, the normal everything that comes with it, it's still just me and Alex. And I don't think too much is going to change, especially once we get some of that stuff worked out.
Yeah, everything we talk about will all be the same. The only difference is now you guys get to look at a couple good-looking guys talking about MMA, which, you're welcome. But no,
Also,
but
apologies in advance if my new cat or my girlfriend come in here at any point in time, because there's always potential distractions. Like our living room is right there. So if you hear her playing video games or something happens, apologies again in advance. But
yeah, but before we get into it, just want to say the official congratulations on the new job since we haven't really talked about it on air yet. So
we're not.
very happy for you. Very happy you're all moved in. We're recording on a Saturday
Yes.
because it's just been a crazy week for you, but
An aggressive
seems
turnout
like,
too, because as soon as we
yeah,
get off this, I'm cutting it, sending it to you, and we're posting it.
yeah. So we won't be doing this the whole time. We won't be recording on Saturdays. We'll try and get it, earlier in the week like we usually have. Still got to work out some scheduling stuff with you and honestly with me now too that your replacement's going to be coming in and like that. I don't know how that schedule is going to work, so it'll be yeah. We'll get it figured out though.
It'll be a shaky start to this transitional period, but we will get it sorted out. Unfortunately, we had a shaky start to our card that we've got coming up 291. We were supposed to get Wonder Boy Michel Pereira, which was my penciled in, locked in, couldn't be more comfortable about it, fight of the night candidate. I
That is a really hot take considering the main event, but
That's fine. But like as far as fireworks, like guaranteed fireworks, you have the king of flippy shit, Michel Pereira, and then you have Wonder Boy, who's always down for an awesome time. So that fight was comfortably in that tier with our main event. Unfortunately, we won't get that because Michel misses weight by 3 pounds.
yeah, 3 pounds. And you think about in a life situation, 3 pounds isn't all that much, but when you're cutting weight, it makes such a world of difference that you don't have to lose those last 3 pounds because when you're going through weight cuts, you're like, in a sense, you're killing yourself because
Oh yeah.
you're dehydrating, you're not eating, and it's a very like unsustainable way of going about your life. And so when you don't have to, when all the water is out of your body, all like your poop and your piss, like literally there is nothing left to exit from your body except for water. And like it's just having that advantage of 3 pounds is massive. So I completely understand Wonder Boy's decision to not go forward with the fight
Yeah.
because that's a very tough situation. He is not getting any younger either, so I understand not wanting to put himself at any sort of disadvantage.
Yeah, it's 3 pounds, like you're saying, like, and it's all water weight. Like you're entirely gonna put you're like he probably would have walked into the cage 15 pounds heavier than Wonder Boy. And while obviously we expected it to be a striking fight, if you're 15 pounds heavier than the next guy, you can probably grab a hold of Wonder Boy in that instance and just ragdoll him and win. Which we
Yeah,
know we know Wonder Boy wants away from the ground fights because he wants to kind of do a striking retirement tour, and he's looking more for people who are going to be a level match in the cage and just stand with him. Um, he that was far too much of a risk, and like you said, I'm right there in that same boat of I understand why you wouldn't want to march on with that fight.
yeah, but really, besides that, I don't think we've had anything too crazy happen this week. Was between this podcast and the last one we recorded, was that when oh my God, Jamal Hill, did he relinquish his title before our last podcast?
I know. I think that got announced while we were on the pod.
Okay. So we didn't talk about it. I guess that was just one thing that I remembered was big, but there's not much to say. It's pretty much everything that we said about Yuri. Feel horrible for him because he finally was able to achieve his goal of becoming a champion, just to have. And this one was a little different because I think he was playing basketball when he tore his Achilles, but and Yuri was training, but despite that, it's still. And as a Jamal Hill fan myself, another Michigan guy, always rooted for him. So I'm feel awful for him, but hopefully he'll be able to come back next year and we'll get that fight between him and Yuri that we deserve, you
I'm
know?
about to say, if anything, it just makes the division a little bit more clear cut. Like, obviously, do not wish that upon anybody. Wish Jamal Hill was healthy enough to defend his belt, but going from because they're good, they made the Jan Alex fight a belt fight, correct?
No,
Never. Well,
it's
why?
3 rounds.
Huh? Well, why wouldn't
It's
you?
it, I well because one, Jan definitely doesn't deserve it after the Ankalaev fight. I think Ankalaev, it should be him and Yuri fighting for the belt next.
Yeah, but we don't know how long Yuri's going to be out. My logic was you do this fight that we're going to talk about here in a bit, and then it's winner of that versus Yuri, and then winner of that versus Jamal, which I know that leaves Ankalaev out in the cold, but like I don't want to even put risk of not getting Yuri versus Jamal. So
I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
that's where I'm at personally. But regardless, yeah, it sucks, and hopefully we do still get to see both of those guys return to full health and get back in the cage and get that fight that we were that we were begging for at one point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So prayers up for Jamal Hill. Hope he's got a speedy recovery. Like we said, there are going to be some implications at 205 that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. But before we get into the 291 card, another week of tough. I don't know how you feel. That fight didn't inspire me very much, but
No, it seemed like they were pretty clearly holding back because they're buddies,
yeah,
which is understandable into a certain degree because it's like in these competitions when Chandler almost runs the table and it comes down to seven guys that were all in camp together versus one Rico, like it gets kind of boring. I did like the option to switch, and we nailed our prediction.
yeah,
We said nobody will switch
yep.
besides Katona, and what happened? Nobody switched besides Katona. That was a pretty easy call to make. But again, I think it's kind of like the main reason that guys won't fight people that are in the same camp as them. That's what we got to see. That's what we would see if Aljo and Marab fought.
Yeah.
Now granted it's for a
Yeah.
title shot, but this is also for a contract in the biggest company in the sport. Isn't it like a guaranteed like 4 fights or 5 fights or something?
Isn't it just 3 to start
It
or
might be just
no?
3. It,
I
I see.
I
I
don't
thought the
know. The
tough.
only thing I know about the entry level UFC contracts is that it's 10-10.
Yes. Well,
That's
but
all.
I see. I thought tough was they bolstered it. Like I thought it was 2020 and a couple extra fights, but I might be wrong.
Well, it could be different too because a lot of these guys have already fought in the UFC. So maybe the numbers do look a little different, but I don't know. It's another shot to fight in the biggest MMA promotion in the world.
Yeah,
That's what you're fighting for.
but with how close Hubbard and Rowe seemingly got, I expect Hubbard now that we won that fight, I expect him to actually come through and deliver like a real performance next week, or I guess in 2 weeks or have 3 weeks, whatever it is. I expect him to actually turn on the Jets. I just against Roosevelt, it was never going to be this electric fight because neither guy really wanted to do damage to the other.
Well, he'll be fighting another Chandler guy, right? Anyway,
Yes, yeah, because we have two
two
bantams.
bantamweights are Connors, right?
Yeah, Katona and Rico, and then but I don't think I think those two. were the close ones. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, Katona's going up against Timur, so
Yeah, which is a
that
strange.
one's that one's dead.
I thought we were for sure set in stone with the whole Timur versus Rico thing.
Rico.
Yeah, because Connor wanted it. Chandler thought that was his toughest opponent. I guess Dana's just trying to keep Rico alive, maybe.
Yeah, that only actual Connor guy.
Yeah, but I mean, Katona's more of a Connor guy than Rico is.
Yeah, but like, you know.
He drove the Rari, so I guess him and Connor are blood brothers now. Um, is
Wow.
Cody Gibson a bantam or is he light?
Oh, I think he's lightweight.
Okay, well, if it's Cody versus Austin, it might be another snoozer.
That's
Because
what I'm
Cody,
saying.
yeah.
That's what I was worried about. I was worried about Austin fighting another Chandler guy.
Well, but if it's oh, what's his name? Halabaugh, it's not going to be like I don't
Well,
think those
he's
guys
just
are
gonna get
close.
murked. Yeah.
I don't think Halabaugh is like close enough with those boys to make them hold back.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the trifecta that we saw all season was Rowe, Hubbard, and Cody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if it
Yeah.
yeah, we might be in for quite the boring finish at lightweight. And but our guy that we predicted to win is out.
Yes. One guy that we predicted to win is out. I don't know. I don't know if you were on Timur, but
No, I had Mando.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm still alive, but
But Mando still gets a ton of action on the show. He gets more action than Timur does because he's the barber.
yeah, yeah.
So
And he had to cut Rose hair. Yeah,
all right, let's get off tough. It's not worth spending this much time on. Let's jump into this recap because Aspinall,
yeah.
we've
Oh,
been huge proponents of. I'm kind of embarrassed that we didn't take him in our Rising Stars draft.
it was hard for me to classify him as a rising star, and he was already like ranked 6.
Yeah, but I
So
mean,
to
we took
me, it was
Blanchfield.
like, yeah, yeah. But like, again, there's so many less like female fighters. Like, it's just with less of a pool of like people to choose from, you gotta inherently just go with people who are in those higher rankings. But no, dude, Tom Aspinall. When I saw he took this fight against Ty Burrett, like I wish he was against a tougher opponent. But I also understand that you're coming back from a serious injury, and like you
There's
don't want to, like if you don't want to walk into the fire right away, like that makes sense. But I expected Aspinall to make it look easy, and he made it look easier than I expected him to do it.
I was about to
So
say he doesn't look like he just got done recovering with an injury.
yeah,
He looks like a machine. Like he is lean. He was moving around quicker than I think we've ever seen him move around. He took his rehab and his training back to this point very seriously, and that shows that like how dedicated of a fighter he is and how good he's going to be. Like even if he's never a champion, because I know we have our concerns with Pavlovic or whatever, but he can be one of those guys that is like you don't want to be around him.
yeah. Well, the thing with the heavyweight division is that the title never stays in one place for too long anyway.
No, but
You know?
Pavlovic is a different kind of animal. You know what I mean? We haven't like obviously we've had like Stefan Struve and like guys like that, but nobody that's got that kind of that reach and that power and that poise. So he does make me feel like we might see a bit of a mold breaker here, but obviously you can't make any guarantees at this point.
Just historically it has, and I think Stipe has the most consecutive defenses, right? And it's like 3.
Yeah, I think it's 3 or 4.
Like,
It's not much.
yeah, and I think Pavlovich is older than Aspinall too.
Yeah, but like a year.
So
It's not by much.
not by much. Okay. Well, yeah, but bottom line is Tom Aspinall is going to be a player
Yes.
in the heavyweight division for a long time. He's still got room to grow, I think. And yeah, I was fired up. I was fired up watching that fight.
I just pray he's not Rob. You know what I mean? I pray he's not the heavyweight Rob, where Rob
Yeah.
just kind of got
But even
stuck.
Rob became a champion still.
Okay, then Dustin. Do
Yeah.
Dustin. Like where it's like, oh, he could be a champion, but it's like it never pans out. Like he might hold an interim belt or whatever, but like I that's many many years down the road. We'll get to do our our championship predictors. Like we'll do that at the end of the year and check back on what we had from the year previous, if you remember us doing that. Um, and we've got plenty of time to follow Aspinall's career, but as of right now, dude looks like a machine. Molly McCann.
Yes. Not quite.
Molly McCann is going down to 115. That will not fix her inabilities on the ground.
Dude, she lost to a girl who was 10-8 going into this fight. They gave her this fight as a layup because she was in London
Yeah,
and
and then she
still like
returned the favor by
wrestled her
giving.
way into an armbar.
You pronounce that last name Stolyarenko, right?
Yeah.
She
Yulia Stolyarenko, I believe,
she
is
gave Stolyarenko a layup by jumping into the armbar.
yeah, it's crazy.
I don't understand the logic of it. I've never been in an octagon. I've never been in a real fight, but I still feel like you should probably have the wherewithal, especially if you're a professional level athlete, a professional level fighter, to not move forward into the hold.
Dude, it's just I don't know how you can have that sort of ineptitude on the ground. And granted, her last fight was against Blanchfield, who is going to make anyone, for the
Yeah.
most part, look bad on the ground. But like this girl Stolyarenko was just she's extremely beatable. Like she's so one dimensional. You know exactly what she's going to do, but it's not like she's good enough like to do it to the point where she's going to win fights.
Yeah.
She was 10-8.
Yeah.
Like she is not a world beater on the ground, bro. Like I just I don't know. I definitely don't think that moving to strawweight is going to help Molly. I don't understand how training with Patty hasn't given her any sort of ability on the mat. But yeah, dude, I'm kind of lost for words on that one.
Yeah, I'm just as clueless as you are with the whole thing. It doesn't make any real amount of sense. But um hey, if you think there's some value to be had at 115, I guess go chase it and hopefully she can catch some of that steam because at minimum she's fun.
Yeah, when she was on that win streak, it was awesome.
Yeah,
It
she's
was
a good
very
time.
fun. Yeah.
She's she's a fun fighter to watch. She just is not all that great right now. So
Yeah.
hopefully she can find what she needs to find at 115 and
Mm-hmm.
maybe becoming a bit of a weight bully is a good thing for her right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. With the Wood Feely fight, it was a good fight. Didn't really elevate either for me.
No, I'm surprised this one didn't win fight of the night though.
Yeah.
I was a little
Both.
disappointed because both guys got knocked down and came back and knocked the other one down. It was a crazy fight. And like, honestly, I thought it could have gone either way. I did feel like Wood probably did a little more.
Yeah.
I think the judges got it right on this one, in my humble opinion.
It was pretty
But
narrow. I wasn't gonna be mad
yeah,
either way.
yeah. But I think Wood probably did a little more. Either way, both guys showed that they're super tough and can respond after literally getting knocked down. Like it was a fun fight. That's my biggest takeaway from it.
Yeah, that's about all I had on. Like I said, I don't think either one of these guys are gonna make super high up pushes off the back of this because I feel like more complete fighters on either end would have ended the fight in those windows that you were talking about. But it was good for what it was supposed to be, which is an exciting fight in the middle of the card that drove up tension and energy, and it did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
This next one though,
I'm about to say, so I think that they put the Wood Feely fight here because they figured that a Paul Craig fight probably wouldn't draw the most energy out of a crowd. Lightweight Paul Craig has some potential, man.
middleweight Paul Craig. But
Middleweight Paul Craig, sorry.
yeah.
No, dude, me versus
Yeah,
the
you
names
versus
of
weight
weight
classes
classes
is
has to be a top five rivalry. on in our podcast history because I mean, we're not
Right
friends.
up, right up there with Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann, right?
Yes. Krylov and Span, me versus weight classes. Um, I mean, even Minifield versus Crute to a certain extent.
Yeah. Yeah, that one did take an interesting turn because of the switch up on both sides.
That
But
was storytelling at its finest. But yeah, so middleweight Paul Craig. I'm just gonna so I reduced myself down to just saying the weight. Like with Molly, I said 115.
hmm
Middleweight
the
Paul
number, yeah.
Craig. As yes,
That'll
middleweight Paul
probably
Craig
make you
has
look a
potential.
little smarter, yeah.
Yes. I don't know why. I don't know what the problem is. Regardless, I am interested to see what he does next. I know he's not a spring chicken by any means, but he can. We've seen guys go up after they get a little older and become problems in a new division, and Paul Craig could absolutely do that.
Yeah, I figured that his size would help a lot, and he against another really good grappler in Muniz, but they didn't even grapple. They
No,
struck for the whole time. It was a striking battle, and Paul Craig won, which I think is awesome.
this fight wasn't even the first fight that we assumed would be like probably owned on the ground
hmm
that ended up being a stand and bang kind of thing. Which we'll talk about that other one here in a second. But yeah, I was kind of blown away to see what we saw there.
Yeah, but it shows that. Yeah, I always think back to I think it was the Volkan Ozdemir fight where Paul Craig just sat on the ground and waited for him to come down there. Made me lose a little bit of you know confidence in Paul Craig as like a viable like top 5 kind of guy. But if he shows hands like that in every fight he does, and obviously he's going to have the same grappling skills, I could see reasonably Paul Craig being a top 5 middleweight. I don't think he'll ever be a champion, but being a bigger guy and having that sort of ability on the ground, and he's shown that he has a lot of finishing ability, which I like.
Yeah, well, and yeah, top five is right where that limit would be for me as well. I could see it being like he gets to seven, and that's in let's call it 2 years. Let's say he has two fights in 2 years after this. He'll be 37 at the end of that. He probably won't be allowed to fight up much longer. So it's like, oh, he could definitely beat four, or he could definitely beat this guy, but he's at seven. So
Yeah.
basically, top five, just but in the fans' psyche and in the fans'
hmm
mind.
Not in the actual rankings. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of just because I don't know if his timeline lines up like that. But I mean, he's still a fun one that we're gonna have to keep eyes on. With this next fight, I've officially I brought it up last week whenever we were talking about this, being kind of concerned about Jai Herbert's career trajectory within the UFC. He kind of got owned on the feet.
Yeah, but did he get I don't know what to think of this fight because it to me it felt like it could have gone either way when it got to the scorecards. But both to me it was both guys tried to wrestle the whole time and neither of them know how to wrestle.
No,
So that just made it for a really ugly and like I just wasn't super engaged during that fight, and I would have liked to see those guys actually use their strong suit against each other.
well, Ziam's so much more balanced than Herbert was that I figured it would be an easy day for him on the ground. But like you said, no success was really coming there.
No.
So they both and then you go look at the striking totals, and Ziam kind of lapped Jai Herbert, which was
Yeah.
weird. Like I didn't realize it in the actual fight, but I went and looked at the totals when we were writing the notes back up. I was like, because it was I was not engaged in this fight, so it was one of those. I was like, am I? I mean, was I missing something? I guess he must have just been doing a lot of just simple taps and simple whatevers, but um, yeah, the numbers look pretty one sided on that part, and then obviously, like you mentioned, the ground game was shambolic. Like it
Just
was
yeah, complete mess.
yeah, so that balance that I was kind of preaching for Zion was not really all the way there and not all the way accurate, but I mean, he still got the win, so it's still a point for me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that fight other than it seemed very counterintuitive on both guys to get in wrestling exchanges, and it doesn't do much for me.
No, it just, like
However,
I said, it keeps knocking Jai Herbert down the pecking order for me.
yeah. However, in the fight before that,
Yeah.
LaRon Murphy, he showed that he's kind of a dog.
He might be a dude.
Yeah,
Might
that third
just be a
round
dude.
was something painful. And I guess credit to Coolbaugh for not getting finished, but wow,
Yeah.
Murphy he looks good, man.
He's looking
He
snappy.
looks dangerous.
He's a name that we definitely didn't rate enough during our rising stars. Now, granted, I don't think he would have been in our top 10, but he definitely
No.
should have been an honorable mention. You
Yeah.
know, because like I think we read through that list. That might have been a different draft that we did, but um, yeah, he's one that while he might not be at that level right now, it's not hard to imagine him being at that level.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
kudos to
yeah.
him. The card,
Yeah.
we got excited about it, was relatively uninspiring.
Besides, the main event.
Right. But I think everybody knew that that was a guaranteed
And
excitement.
Paul Craig. Sorry.
Yes, those, I was just about to say that. Those are the two things that I came away with that I might actually remember after the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to remember the rest of this, other than maybe a little bit of LeBron. But
Yeah. But
yeah, all right.
for a fight night standard, it was good. I
Yeah,
thought.
for a fight night, but they also feed us like cans for fight night. So they make me feel like Tom Aspinall out here, giving me opponents that just don't belong. All right, cool. So we've got six fights rather on this upcoming 291 card. And before we jump into the main, we do have one prior to that, being Gabriel Bonfim versus Trevin Giles.
Yeah, and after the Bonfim brothers showed out at, I think it was 283, right? That was the January card in Brazil.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So both of them got some early finishes. Gabriel is back in action, and I think the UFC kind of understands, like, they have some pretty solid talent between both of these guys, and it seems like Gabriel is probably the more promising of the two as well.
Yeah.
So I Giles has been on a bit of a decline lately, and I think with the all around ability of Gabriel Bonfim, he's got great grappling. He's got good enough hands. He definitely has power in his hands. Not what he's known for.
No.
But
It's going to be
that is kind of what Giles is known for, but we've also seen that he's kind of lost the like one shot stopping power that he maybe had a little earlier on in his career.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. My notes include protect your neck, Trevin. It's just basically Bonfim's grappling abilities are pretty unmatched for this echelon of the weight class. So I think it's going to be a sub. I think it might be a relatively quick sub. And that's not to discredit Trevin. I think he's a good fighter. I just don't think whenever you come up against specialists like this, that where Trevin is at currently is a good matchup for it.
Yeah, and I don't want to label Bonfim as a specialist, though, because
I don't either. But as of right now, he can qualify as one because his hands are there,
yeah,
but it's his sub that you really have to worry about.
yeah, that's fair enough.
So yeah, he's whenever at full elevation and at full peak, he is not a specialist. As of right now,
Yeah.
I think he's a specialist growing out of his role.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, the easiest way for me to put that. So I'm right there with it. Are you taking sub or are you staying pretty nondescript on the finish?
I would guess sub probably if I had to. I don't think it would go. I don't think it'll go the distance. And if we're picking Bonfim, most likely it will be. I wouldn't. He could knock him out. He could surprise us,
It
but
could be a
I don't see.
thing.
I don't see this one going 15 minutes. So
No, I don't. I don't even really see it going 10. I think
there
it'll
you go.
probably be a second round finish if I'm getting uber specific. But all right, that's a quicker one. We've got 5 more fights that we got to go, so we're about to kick off the main card.
So the opening fight on this main card here is Michael Chiesa and Kevin Holland, which I'm super excited for. A couple fighters that I really like. And also, before we get too far into this main card, actually, I want to remind people that this is in Salt Lake City,
Yes.
which is elevation, and we might see some crazy things happen because of how the altitude affects a lot of the fighters. So it definitely played a factor in some of my picks, but
Didn't
like
play too
not
much of a
not
factor in
not
your
really
main
a
event.
deciding factor though, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is something to consider with the main event specifically because we know where he trains.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Gaethje is a big Colorado guy, so that's worth noting. But yeah, with Kiesa and Holland, obviously the altitude is something to keep in mind. But my big thing is where do we think these two guys are at in their careers? Because I mean, I know Holland is younger, but Chiesa has far fewer fights, so there's reason to think that he's got maybe even more gas in the tank than Holland does, because Holland also gets into wars. Um, but you also got to think about the inactivity because Chiesa has not been in the cage for a while. So there's a lot of weird and
Huge.
interesting things going into this fight for me.
Yeah, I think that Kevin Holland I think welterweight is definitely the right weight class for him. And I feel like he's going to ascend a lot more. He's going to have a lot more success long term at welterweight than he did at middleweight. And we all know what everyone knows what Michael Chiesa is going to want to do to you. You know, Michael Chiesa is a submission artist through and through. That's what he's going to try and do to Kevin Holland. And listen, Kevin Holland's takedown defense, again, historically, not super great, but it's not like Holland is a slouch on the ground either. Like
No, yeah, he's
it's
he's got quality there.
this this one was definitely tough to pick because I know we know how good Michael Chiesa can be on the ground, but I think in terms of all around ability, I don't know how much of Kevin Holland's striking Michael Chiesa will be able to take.
Not much of it. And the big thing for me is if this was Chiesa in the octagon regularly, feeling good, looking good. We've seen him, going after it for a little bit. I would probably lean Chiesa. But with Holland strikes plus the inactivity versus mega activity that Holland puts out, I'm going to go with Holland. I'm going to say by decision, just because, like, if he knocks Chiesa down, probably shouldn't go down there with him.
No.
So I could see a couple if it was somebody else where it would be a TKO finish or something like that, but Holland lets the fight keep on going and eventually wins on the scorecards. That's how I see this fight playing out.
Yeah, and it's not going to be any sort of concern. Like, Michael Chiesa will land on the feet, but from what we've seen from Kevin Holland's chin in his previous fights, it'll take like a light heavyweight to knock him out.
Yeah.
It'll take punches from like a dude 35 pounds heavier than him to knock him out. So
And even then
even if,
it's like this.
yeah, but even if it doesn't, or even if it stays on the feet for only say it does go 15 minutes, say it stays on the feet for half of the time, I think even if Chiesa gets him to the ground for half of the fight, Holland will be able to do more in the striking exchanges to give him a decision victory too. So
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This will be a fun fight though. This is one that even if we do have Jesus, unanimous thoughts on. Takes me a second to remember how to speak English every once in a while, but um, even if we are, in agreement with Kevin Holland, this is not a fight you can just be like, okay, it's going to be Kevin Holland win. We'll wait to turn it on until this next one.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Which speaking of this next fight, Alex, you've already tipped your hand a little bit on this one. Um, explain yourself because I don't get it. It's Bobby Green versus Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, so I don't know. This was one that I had that I didn't really know which way I was gonna go. And then this morning it was just a gut feeling saying maybe Tony, maybe this is the reset that Tony needs. So I I don't feel great about it.
No.
Listen, I'll be the first to say that this is probably wishful thinking more than anything. But I so Tony's lost 5 in a row.
Yep.
4 have been highly ranked lightweights. 1 was at welterweight in a fight that was changed a day before or 2
Right.
days before.
Yes.
So I think I'm just trying to like rationalize and like kind of make excuses for Tony's losses because he's clearly not the Tony Ferguson of 2017 through like 2019 or whatever. He's not.
He's not.
That guy's gone. But unfortunately, they had the shell of him fight guys who are in their prime for the most part. Outside of Nate Diaz, that was another extenuating circumstance, though. I think Tony being back at lightweight is good. Bobby Green has a lot of losses on his record. It's not like he is the cream of the crop by any means. And I think the biggest concern for me is Tony's chin. The Green doesn't really have knockout power like that.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know. I think this is the make or break fight, whether Tony can continue fighting in the UFC at a lower level or if he just has to be done for good.
It makes me say I'm not a Tony Ferguson guy. Like I like Tony. He's a little too weird for me to like be like a super
Yeah.
fan of. But hey, everybody's different. If you're a Ferg guy, go for it. Personally, not my favorite, but I still like having him around because I understand what he means to the sport. His chin is gone. Like I understand Bobby Green doesn't have like crazy power, but it doesn't take crazy power. Not anymore. He's like, look at Tom Reyes. Like
Yeah.
that's where I think we're at with Tony. I don't think it takes some crazy striking, artist to put him away. Bobby Green is not a striking artist, but I do think that he's going to put the final nail in Tony Ferguson's coffin, and we will see Tony either retire or depart the company and go fight elsewhere.
BKFC.
No, and he should not be KFC with that chin. He needs to go to Eagle or something, which would be pretty funny if he went to fight. Is it? Yeah, it's
If he
Eagle
went
that
to
Habib.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Habib's his eagle. Yeah.
What messed me up was I was about to say Titan FC, but that's just because I remember Jorgen De Castro going to Eagle and he's the Mad Titan. So it messed with my
Yeah.
brain for a second. But yes, I think that this is the swan song for Tony Ferguson and this company. As sad as it is.
Yeah. I don't have much. The thing is, like, I don't have a whole lot to contest you with. I don't have a lot to throw back at you. And
No.
it's to me, it's just I think at some point when you lower the level of competition enough, like you can at least get a win somewhere. And that's clearly what's happening with Tony Ferguson. And so I'm hoping this is the one. And in this next fight, I'm hoping this is the one too, because now with the removal of Pereira and Wonder Boy from the main card, Derek Lewis and Marcos Rogerio de Lima is the third fight on the main card. And Derek Lewis is in a pretty similar spot to Tony Ferguson, where he's dropped a couple fights, and has
That
kind of
were high
slid
up.
down the rankings. And now he's fighting an unranked guy for the first time in a while.
This reeks of Derek getting slapped around for 2 rounds,
And then
not
finding the
having
shot.
not having any gas in the tank, and then throwing some goofy off the side of his foot, like almost spinning on his head kind of punch that just flatlines De Lima. That's what this
Yeah.
feels like. And we've seen that script play out with Derek Lewis a dozen times. And that's what he does. And I don't think Derek Lewis is some upper echelon fighter anymore. But he's still so fun.
Oh yeah. He's always fun. And I think the good thing about this fight is De Lima he's not gonna try and wrestle Lewis like Spivak did.
Mm-mm.
He doesn't have the power that Sergey Pavlovich has.
Mm-mm.
He like the guy he's just kind of hung around in the UFC, kind of alternating some wins and losses. Like never been anything special. Derek Lewis had a peak. He's past it. But I think at the end of the day, he is more like he's still a better fighter than DeLima.
Yeah,
And both guys are like not they're both pretty like relatively old, you
right.
know?
It's not they're not feeding Derek to some up and comer. They've done that. They've been doing that. But they're giving him a breather from that to try to wake everything back up. They're putting him in a really high spot for what his fight is. But like you said, it's because of
Yeah.
the Wonder Boy and Michel Pereira fight. Um, I yeah, this is a very different story for me than Ferg because Derek still looks like he's still him. It's just that the division, to me, it looks like the division has passed him. It looks like the division has passed what his skill set is. Whereas Ferg looks like he's lost his skill set. Does that make sense?
I don't know. It does make sense. I don't agree with that because it seems like Lewis, once he like in his last couple fights, once he realized that he like couldn't land, he just kind of gave up.
But Derek's always done that.
I don't know.
He's like, that's how we get these moments is because he gives up and then he just throws some crazy, I wonder if this would happen, or I wonder if this would work, and then all of a sudden it does. That's kind of what Derek Lewis is. Like we
Yeah.
get so swept up in the my balls is hot and the
The
funny,
Ronda Rousey flirtation. Yeah.
yes, like all this hilarious character work that is Derek Lewis that we forget that he's. I love Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
Derek Lewis was never going to be a champion.
No.
He doesn't take
Because he
stuff
can't
serious.
wrestle.
And he doesn't
And he's
take,
too yeah.
he's openly admitted that he doesn't take it serious enough.
Yeah.
So this is what Derek Lewis is. He's just been put under the spotlight more because he's been, getting fed to these
Because he's
monsters.
funny.
Right. And he's funny. And he got all the way up to a title shot. And like I still think that the Derek Lewis that we like is still the current Derek Lewis we have. It's just that we're getting more realization that the Derek Lewis we like is not all that elite of a fighter.
I guess. I mean, I don't think I ever thought Derek Lewis was elite, but like,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Don't be
yeah,
nitpicky with my words. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Fair enough.
yes,
I'll drop it. I'll drop it.
yeah.
I think we just have differing opinions on Derek Lewis on how we view Derek Lewis as a whole and at his peak.
It's
But
entirely possible. I told you the first card I bought was Habib and Connor, which would have also subsequently been Derek Lewis fighting
yeah.
because he was the third fight on that card.
Mm-hmm.
So my introduction, or like my full indoctrination into the sport, was with Derek Lewis doing what I'm predicting him to do against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. So like this is just what I think of Derek. But okay, we can move beyond it now, and so as to not make it the Derek Lewis Power Hour, we've got the co-main now, which I thought was probably going to become the light heavyweight belt. I had to ask you because I thought that that's where they were going with it.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Pereira, Polish Power, Jan Blachowicz. I think Alex comes in here and puts the light heavyweight division on notice.
And I'd like to think that because I think it would be more fun.
Mm.
But I'm every the analysis that I have for this fight is a lot of it is based on Jan's fight with Izzy. And I know Izzy and Alex are size-wise vastly different. Stylistically, though, pretty similar.
Yeah.
And Izzy struggled getting wrestled by Jan. Alex struggled getting wrestled by Izzy.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's just like as long as Jan doesn't get caught by a clean Pereira shot, he'll have the freedom and ability to wrestle his way to what I think will probably be a decision win. And on top of that, this is a heavier weight class. Alex was known for his power at middleweight. Jan is known for his power too.
And light heavy.
That, like literally, he is the legendary Polish power. Jan, I think, will be able to match Pereira in a way that he hasn't necessarily seen before. And on top of that, Pereira just got knocked out not too long ago by Izzy. That was in April, right?
Yeah, that wasn't but 3-4 months ago.
Like there's a lot in this fight, not just stylistically, but also mentally, I think, working against Alex Pereira. So this is I think Jan will win this one by decision.
I see. With the Izzy thing, I agree that obviously it was a pretty easy day for Jan to wrestle him down and just hold him there. Izzy came into the fight 5 pounds under. Like there was no
Yes.
cut. There was. Did you see that Alex is already up to like
He's
227?
228, 228, I think. Yeah.
Like I understand that he is worse on the ground than Izzy is, but that's another like 20 something odd pounds that you're going to have to struggle down. And that does make a significant bit of difference to me. Um, and the smart play is absolutely on. I'm not going to pretend like it's not, but I don't think that Pereira is going to be that caught up in his head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't seem
Maybe,
like the type that's really going to let that bog him down.
but he just hasn't Pereira hasn't in the UFC fought a guy with the wrestling chops that Blachowicz has,
No,
or the guy the size Blachowicz is.
yeah, I about to say like he's got a couple guys in there that maybe, but like he he just mows through them, so that yeah, you couldn't even really see the ground game. If Alex is going to win, it needs to be by finish.
Oh yeah.
It
It'll
needs to
have
be
to be a
TKO.
knockout.
Yeah, it has to be early. I'm I'm probably making a bad choice by betting in his favor, but for whatever reason, it's one of those kind of vibe check things where it's like I just
Yeah.
kind of see it happening.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel better, I'd pick Tony Ferguson. So
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm allowed to throw a bet or two away here. Okay, so
uh,
that brings us on to the main event now, and this is like a genuine point of contention
yes. Extra yeah,
because
because
this is
if
like
you
the ultimate our boys fighting, other than Dustin. Well, this is the second
th-
closest
this is our
because
boys fighting too. My
yes,
boy is looking to go 2-0.
yeah, I'm
But
about to say because
if
Mike Chandler is my ultimate boy, but
yeah.
that didn't pan out quite right.
So if you've been listening to this podcast for an extended period of time, it's abundantly clear that I'm an avid Dustin Poirier supporter.
You know,
So to see him in the octagon with a guy who I have all the respect in the world for, Justin Gaethje,
human
love
highlight.
watching him fight. He's a human highlight reel for a reason. This fight's going to be awesome, but there was never ever a doubt that I was picking Dustin Poirier in this fight.
Likewise.
Um, but yeah, and a lot of this. So, have you seen the stuff about how since they fought the first time, how their career trajectory has been like
Like,
essentially the same,
yes, it's like identical.
which is just it's nuts. They lost to the two same guys. They have the same number of like wins by finish, wins by decision. It's 6-2. Like
Yeah.
it's a there's a crazy amount of like parallels between these two guys. But so it's going to be close, and I am not I'm not comfortable picking Dustin because of how good Justin Gaethje is, but a lot of it I think depends on are we going to see the Justin Gaethje that learned how to jab against Rafael Fiziev, or is he going to come out swinging like a wild man? You know?
So a big part of this for me, sorry, I don't know if that sounded awful or not, but a big part of this for me is because, like you mentioned with Fiziev, it seemed like he kind of realized he was like, oh wait, I could have just been doing this for the last 10 years and like probably be a champion right now, just with the little just tapping him right on his forehead right there. Um, but also I think we're due for a Trevor Whitman renaissance. We have to be.
Well, he's 2 for 3 in fighters who have lost their last fight,
That's what I'm
if
saying.
you include Rose.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Rose, which I don't know what's happening with her. He needs to cut bait
She's
regardless.
going to 125.
Yeah. Oh
That is
yeah,
what's happening with
yeah,
her.
because we got
She's
that
fighting
got that
Manon.
announced.
Yeah,
Forgot about
she's
that.
gonna get she's gonna get murked.
Yes,
But
yeah, it's not going to be a good time. But um, it you have Rose. Marty lost his title. Gaethje didn't have that spot, but we know how good Whitman is. We know that he's very, very good at his job. Dustin, while he is very good, there is so much that's known about his game plan that a guy like Whitman with a fighter like Justin has to be able to capitalize on that. It's too, it's Dustin might as well write the game plan and hand it to you himself because it hasn't changed in the last like 8 years. You know what Dustin, you know what
that's
Dustin
the
is.
same with Gaethje.
I agree, but who has the better coaches in their corner?
I think if anything, I thought you were gonna sit here and argue about how Gaethje trains in Colorado and that'll make a difference,
Well, that
which I
helps.
think is an extremely fair point. And
Yeah.
like he probably will be less tired in this fight.
And I
But
hinted at that earlier when you brought up that it's an SLC.
yeah, but these guys aren't gonna wrestle. Justin
No.
Gaethje isn't gonna wrestle Dustin Poirier. So
No.
what how much different can a guy like Justin Gaethje be on the feet? I think Poirier has a lot more tools in his arsenal than Gaethje does.
Yes, but I think Justin's ability to improvise and like find his windows and just go full bore are unparalleled in this sport. And that's the kind of thing that messes up very polished fighters like Dustin. It's been so long since, like, even Connor, the Connor fights were not pretty between Dustin and Connor, these last two. But in the first round of the one that he about or that he broke his leg or whatever it was, Connor was even being able to mess Dustin up because of the improvisation and being able to find those little windows. Justin is better at that than Connor is. I don't know what to fully expect from this fight. I hope whoever wins throws the BMF belt into the crowd and walks away. But what I do know is that if it comes down to just about anybody versus Justin Gaethje standing toe to toe in the octagon and essentially having a gentleman's agreement that this is not going to the ground, I'm taking Justin Gaethje because that man emerges out of wars like nobody's business.
I think I think you're severely underappreciating how much of a dog Dustin Poirier is too, because he's
He's a
also
machine.
gotten in. He's
He's
gotten in plenty of wars in his own right.
He has. He absolutely has. But Justin is if
He
okay,
is listen, he's the human highlight. I understand that. Like that this is his fighting style.
yes.
But Dustin if Dustin engages with him in a war, he's going to lose. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think but I don't think he's going to do that. I think he is going to dial it back a little bit, kind of let Gaethje, tire himself out by taking all these wild shots and then pick him apart in the third round, kind of like the Chandler fight. I know it was a submission because, just kind of fluky, but
Yeah.
like Dustin let Chandler get tired in that first round. He lost the first round,
Mm-hmm.
but he came back over the last two and ultimately finished the fight. Like I think that is the game plan, if anything, if you're Dustin Poirier.
Probably. My logic is Dustin gets into wars. Justin is a warrior. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't, and that's why I'm such a big fan of Justin Gaethje is because I am always going to bet on the warrior because that dude doesn't just come out of battle; he lives for battle. Dustin is a lot more cerebral, but Justin, it's hard to be smart whenever you got a man like Justin Gaethje in the cage with you. So
You're not
that's
wrong.
where I'm at.
We'll find out in, you know,
Couple
less
hours.
than 10 hours.
About
Yeah.
to say the main card starts at 10 my time, so we got 6 hours until the main card starts.
Oh, yeah. It's almost four for you. Damn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But all right, do you have anything else?
No, I'm all set.
Cool. There's no telling when our next episode's going to be. It'll be sometime this next week. But regardless, we're gonna keep working on this format and making it as good as it can be.
Yeah, it's gonna we'll have the ship up and running in no time. So bear with us for the next couple weeks while we kind of work out the kinks. But I think for all intents and purposes, this went pretty well though. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I think it's a good run. And we had that last week there, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, as a trial period to where
yeah.
we kind of worked into it. But all right, I'm good.
All right, peace out.
Peace.